Alright, all you late night graveyard shift racers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week comes from none other than Rocket Juice Game with their stunt from the video game Neon Tail. And of course, from none other than Raphael 281195 with their stunt Project 2. And the reason why these two stunts made it in, folks? Well, anybody who can pull off a leap like that to do a front flip with no problem and no ramp is a winner in our books. And the reason why we picked the second stunt? Well, if you're crazy enough like the Joker to do this stunt with no helmet, almost hit a building and land on the other side clean like a glove, yeah, definitely impressive in our books. And besides those extremely impressive stunts, folks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and prove to the world why this month is so great in 29 days or less, as we check out a couple of cool tracks to kick this month off for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Moini16, and hopefully we said that name right, with their said track, Vertical Insanity number 3. I swear we are a glutton for punishment when it comes to tracks like these, and the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, not only because of the 90-degree drop straight to hell that reminds us of an episode of Rocko's Modern Life, but all of the pits and pendulums and obstacles that you have to go through along the way. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this track is definitely beware of the drops, be careful on what side you land on for the tubes, and ultimately, yeah, be careful of the objects. And oh yeah, to reverse back to what we said about the tubes, if you don't land on the ground when you land with the tubes or turn your car correctly, you will explode and it will cost you during this race. So yeah, be careful and have fun. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Wig Splitter with his said track, Charlotte Motor Speedway. And the maestro said, are we picking all of these crazy motor-like tracks because of the Indy 500 coming up? And the answer is, I didn't know the Indy 500 was coming soon, but we'll go with it. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there who wants to race on this oval-like track of greatness is this: be careful of car pileups and also be careful of the actual racetrack itself, because depending on what weather condition you go with, the track will be slippery and it will cause you to spin out a little bit while you try to make that turn. So be careful on those turns and be careful of wheel slippage, because it can happen. It really can. And the next track that we have up, which comes from the creator Jeff Bob 1979. Oh nice, long time no see, man. With his said track, JB Grumper Dumper. And this track, folks, is no laughing matter, because during the said track that involves you turning into a dump truck and a litany list of other cool vehicles, including and not limited to, folks, a gargoyle, a parachute, and I do believe a party bus. Yeah, it's no laughing matter. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for the said track, when you get to the first part where you have to turn into a dump truck and glide your way down that said mountain, be careful and don't press any buttons while you're making your way through that magical ride. Because if you go too far left or too far right on this magical journey, your car will get knocked out of the boost sequence and you will lose this race. Or better yet, in this case, it will be a lot harder for you to get back into the race with a giant oversized dump truck tumbling down Mount Chiliad at an alarming rate. So yeah, be careful. And the next next track that we have up comes from the creator V with his said track, Underground Racing. And in this said underground midnight club reminds me of sort of race that involves motorcycles. It's a pretty cool race, and not to mention, depending on the motorbike you get, you will have the ability to do a moonsault mid-race. But as a little bit of a warning, once you reach those underground tunnels and head through that makeshift, I guess, somewhat of a metro tunnel underground, be careful on how you ride on that cylinder-like tunnel, because if you don't, let's just say you will go in a full loop formation like I did and crash directly off the bike, which will cost you during this race. So race carefully in those said tunnels. Unless you have more control over your bike than I do, then just go for it. Go for it. And the last but not least track that we have up for this week comes from the creator Kujo724 with their said track, Tech Train Jumper. And in this said crazy off-road extreme track that I got a feeling we mentioned earlier in the year and managed to snag another track of the week nomination, features you jumping over a train. Enough said, with off-road vehicles nonetheless. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there who wants to take on this said crazy track is to make sure you have an off-road vehicle fast enough to jump the train. And also, high enough off the ground to actually make the jump as well, because if your wheels hit that train in even the slightest, it will cause your car to go into a big spin and will cost you during this race. Almost like the first race in Mario Kart when you hit the train. Yeah, you Maestro, because it happened to you before too, right? Yeah, it did. Yeah, I knew to go to him. And with that said, folks, wraps it up for another month-starting edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And for any of you race fans out there who wants to give any of the tracks that we mentioned for this week ago, you can head on over to the Rockstar Social Club Games page and check out the playlist entitled Jump Greatness to check it out for yourselves. And for those out there who participate in these said tracks, you will get a chance to win upwards of well over $100 to a possible $200,000 prize if you're able to get first place in all of these races. So good luck, racers, and I'm rooting for you. And with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to this music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't touch that dial just yet, folks, and stay tuned.